It's a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to be here on this very special day. And of course, all of us remember November 30th, 1864. It was a beautiful Indian summer afternoon, about 45 degrees, no wind or breeze whatsoever. The sun was about an hour from setting in the southwest, casting those autumn rays over the beautiful bluegrass valley. And in time, a crescent moon would rise in the southeast, the skyline a blood crimson red. And at 4 p.m., 20,000 Confederate soldiers, 18 Confederate brigades, 100 Confederate regiments, 100 battle flags flying, they truly would march down the slopes to immortality. From the federal perspective, they themselves said it was worth a year of their life to see this. Another one said it was worth $1,000 to see this. That's about $38,000, $40,000 today. Another federal soldier said the sounds was like a distant rumbling low hall of thunder as the 20,000 men's footsteps were marching toward them. Another federal soldier said, even though they are the enemy, all I have is admiration for them. Look at them. The brave, brave rebel boys, their officers riding from one end of the line to the other. Courage knows no uniform, as we know. And before they stepped off, they were circling their chaplains, taking off their wedding rings, wallets, and photos. They didn't think they were going to get out of this one. Chaplains like Chaplain McNally was refusing to take anything because they were going in with them as well. And he said nearly every one of those men were dead, begged them to do that the morning after the battle. They called it the Valley of Death before the assault had even stepped off. They knew what they were going into. These were veterans, they were not sheep going into slaughter. Now we're moving on up to 2005. It was a Saturday, sometime at the end of April, 1st of May, and I'd spoken with, ran this by Gene and the board. What do you think about just talking to them, just planting the seeds, so to speak? So I walked over there and knocked on the door, and Chris Waller, about 29, 30 years old. I said, you've been great neighbors. I certainly didn't mention the beer cans flying over our heads. He was a kid when that happened anyway. But you've been great neighbors, and et cetera, but if you ever decide to maybe sell, let Carter House know first, please. And didn't hear anything back until late summer of 2006, and that they were interested, and started that process. And on November 15th of 2006, the papers were signed and started that process. Actually, Mary Jane Crook was the one that started the package with photographs of the trailers and a photograph of a cannon and what it would look like in the future, and started that process in late spring of 2006, early summer. And the letter I sent to the Civil War Trust, and it was a letter to a friend. Jim Lighthouser is a friend of mine, and just a handwritten letter. And I almost had a stroke when I found out they put it out to 100,000 people, because I would have watched my grammar a little bit better. But every state in America, Canada, Canada, England, France, I believe France, Germany, Ireland, everywhere they sent funds, and also the Civil War roundtables. That was through the Civil War Trust, that letter, but the Civil War roundtables. And I'm almost hesitant to mention, because I'm going to forget, not mention all of them, but the Chicago Civil War Roundtable, the Howell, Michigan Civil War Roundtable, San Francisco, Peninsula, California, and the Austin, Texas Civil War Roundtable. Yes, they asked how much is your left. It's about $10,400, and you got it. They wrote a check, and that pushed us over the top. And I promised my Texas friends that I would repeat the quote from Robert E. Lee: "Texans always move them," and they pushed us over the top. But everywhere in America, one child, they forego their birthday presents, and their family sent that money in for a donation for the garden. Wasn't that a great sacrifice? He didn't want any birthday presents, nothing, not even a cake. Just wanted to send it to the garden fund. And there's so many individuals here that had the sentence in the battle, but 2 weeks ago, I believe, or was it last weekend? I can't remember that. But this is the Sexton family, related to Captain James Sexton, 72nd Illinois. And the two boys, the three great grandchildren of Captain James Sexton, so that was located right here and led one charge because he was a captain. Everyone else had been killed in the 72nd Illinois wounded, and had another 2,000 men led again with 112th Illinois. There's relatives, Confederate side, 13th Tennessee. There's so many descendants here. They stand the test of time, and this for all future generations and for these children here. In closing, they're the ones going to be carrying these stories on as we'll cross the river and meet under the shade of the trees, and they're going to carry this on. It's so lovely to see children here. Everyone, I can't tell you how many individuals from the Civil War Trust members as well as members in the city, and Gene McNeil won't tell you this, he sponsored most of these plaques here. He's sponsored Bind the Diary from W.E. Maury, 49th Tennessee, and helped with the cannon, and on and on and on. He'll never tell you that. Dr. Atkinson here, before he was on the board, he gave $500 for the Garden Fund. And Reed Lovell, he doesn't want me to note him, but Reed Lovell's former president in the back with the ball cap and the sunglasses. His mother, Elizabeth Lovell, wonderful, Mrs. Lovell, wonderful lady. She was president of the board, and Reed president of the board, and he's instrumental in getting the gym acquired, as well as going through all these things through the grounds here. There's so many individuals, and forgive me if I haven't pointed out every one that should be pointed out here. But in closing, the advanced federal line a half a mile south held out too long. Courier's riding back to Wagner saying there's enough rebels to gobble us up. He said, hold out till blank freezes over. Another courier rides back. He says, you tell Colonel Conrad the 2nd Division can whip all blank. Fill in the blanks. Now we have a half a mile race, Federal and Confederate, coming right up the gut. The Federals are holding their fire. 50 yards from the works, General Gordon, Confederate, said all Hades exploded in our faces. That's the Confederates burst through the center with that high-pitched rebel yell. And on that note, I'd like to introduce a dear friend of mine, and there's so many dear friends here I have not noted here today, but Eric Jacobson, Director of Operations for the Franklin Trust now for the 2 sites, an excellent historian, Eric Jacobson.